going on, everybody? This is Island Hopper TV, and today we're coming to you from the cultural capital of Japan. This here is Kyoto. We are going to show you 26 things to do. First up on the list, we are here at Nishiki Market. Now, it's open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., but I recommend you get here early because it does get very crowded and it is a very narrow food street. But this is definitely one of the best food streets I've ever been to anywhere in the world, and certainly in Japan. I was blown away by the amount of variety in food you can find here. Everything from seafood to tempura, sushi, seafood skewers, also Wagyu beef, Kobe beef. Really a lot of variety here, even sea urchin. And at the end of the road is the Nishiki Tenmangu Shrine. It's actually a Shinto shrine that's at the intersection of the Teramachi shopping street. For those of you looking to do some shopping outside of food, plenty of different retail stores here. Also, the good news is it's all under a roof in this area, so if it's raining or snowing, you're completely protected. Here we have the Samurai Ninja Museum. This is right along the Teramachi street, and it's worth it to go in there. It's a small museum, but it's jam-packed with history about everything from the samurais to the shogun to the emperors. You're going to learn a lot about Japan here, and you get to throw some ninja stars at the end, where you compete against others who are in your museum tour group. Now here we are at the Kyoto Tower, which is an observation tower located here in the heart of Kyoto, right next to the central station. It's a steel tower, and it's the tallest structure in Kyoto, standing over 100 meters. The cool thing is you get great views overlooking the city, 360 degrees, as well as the mountain ranges that surround the ancient city of Kyoto. The ticket price is 800 yen, which comes out to around $5.40. So it's really an affordable, fun thing to do. I recommend going up there during sunset, but again, the big reason you're going up here is to get these views. I would suggest planning for about an hour to go up here. Also, when you go down the elevator, they have a bar with a restaurant that you can hang out at, but you have to actually go and order a drink or something to eat. You can't just hang out and take pictures unless you're a customer. They also have a food court at the bottom level. Now here we are at Yomizo Dera, a temple on top of the hill in Kyoto. Now this is a Buddhist temple dating all the way back to 778 AD. It was owned by the Buddhist Kida Hosa sect under the Enshin Shonin. It is one of several UNESCO World Heritage Sites here in the ancient city of Kyoto. Here you will find several shrines and temples with this great view overlooking Kyoto from the mountains here. One of the things I want to point out about the difference between Buddhism and Shinto shrines. So Buddhism is more dedicated to the transition into the afterlife, more of a spiritual transition, right? Whereas Shinto is more of a respect for the earthly plane, things like wind, water, land, mountains. So Shinto shrines more about the world, and Buddhism more about the transition into the afterlife. So those are the two main types of shrines you'll find around Japan. Now here we are at Arashiyama. This is the second most important sightseeing area around Kyoto, with a variety of different attractions for you to check out. And here we are now at the bamboo forest. Like the bamboo forest you see here, now this is a naturally occurring forest here in Arashiyama. The forest consists mostly of moso bamboo and several pathways that tourists like to walk around. And there's more than one little grove, so walk around and do check those out. You can also see shrines and other temples in the area, which makes this even more unique. There's actually a lot of things for you to do out here in Arashiyama. Let's talk about the local food. Obviously, you're going to have miso, ramen noodle, udon noodle, and then you have pot stickers, but plenty of soups here. And then you have unique foods like Wagyu beef, chicken teriyaki. You're going to have that kind of food here. And then you have tempura, which is a popular food all across Japan. And you have seafood at the markets. Wash it down with an acai or a Sapporo beer. Now, what do you say we head over to the Railway Museum? This is an interesting museum, especially here in Japan, because the way I see it, nobody does trains like the Japanese do. Whether it be the Shinkansen or the metro system. In fact, in Singapore, that amazing MRT system was designed by a Japanese company. So if you're really into transportation and trains, I highly recommend you come over here and take a look at all of the technology that has been evolving here in Japan with the railways. And definitely consider riding the Shinkansen while in Japan. Tickets cost 1,500 yen per person. That's around $10. And it's really worth it in my opinion. And just to let you know, the fastest train in the world is actually located here in Japan. It's the Low Series Maglev with a record speed of 603 kilometers per hour. Now from the Railway Museum, we're actually going to head over to the Kamo River Walk. This here is a nature walk that goes right through the city. Depending on the season, you'll get different colors. If it's in the spring, you'll get the cherry blossom. If it's in the fall time, you'll get the fall colors, oranges and reds. But when I was here in late October, the trees still had not started to transition into the fall colors. But either way, I found this to be a very relaxing place to do some exercise. People like to fish from here as well, but definitely a place to do a little stroll. Now let's talk about some Kyoto nightlife. Believe it or not, actually way more happening than I ever suspected. And they have plenty of cozy streets for you to walk around and go in these little bars, do some karaoke. Definitely be ready for some karaoke here. Some of those popular areas include Gion, also the Nishiki Market area, and then my favorite, which was the Kiyomachi Dori neighborhood right there along the side of the river. But here's where you're going to find more of that cozy kind of ambiance that you expect from Japan, where you find those hole-in-the-wall pubs with some ramen noodle afterwards. Like I said, it's right there on the river. In fact, I would suggest you do consider getting a hotel nearby Kiyomachi. I think this is probably the best area to get your hotel, especially if you're looking for the nightlife. Now we're headed to the Zen Buddhist temple known as Kinkaku-ji. It's actually a golden building right there on the lake. It's one of the most popular buildings in all of Japan and certainly in Kyoto. It is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. For me, even more impressive than the actual Golden Temple was the grounds and the surrounding area that this temple is located on. Really beautiful and scenic, especially during the fall colors. I would suggest planning to do Arishiyama and Kinkaku-ji in the same day. Now here we are at the Fushimi Inari Shrine. This is popular with tourists because you walk up a mountain for about 2 to 3 hours round trip, and it goes through a tunnel of more than 10,000 closely spaced orange torii gates that wind over the hills up the Mount Inari. This is a Shinto shrine that is actually the ethnic religion of the people of Japan, practiced by over 70% of the population. I did the hike up to the top of the mountain where they have the observatory. I would say definitely bring your hiking shoes. For this one, going up is definitely brutal, but coming down is a breeze, so that's a bright side to going up, and then coming down getting an easy trek. But going up through these orange torii gates is quite nice. Now, the reason it is painted this color red or orange is it's said to ward off the evil spirits. Now, there is no entrance fee for this shrine. The best time I recommend visiting here is early in the morning between 7 and 8 a.m. if possible, or during the nighttime, especially during the summer. But when you get up here, you can see the observation views looking down into the Kyoto Valley area that connects to Osaka. So great vantage point up here, and it does make it worthwhile. And the trek down from this point is about 3 times faster than it is to come up. And then by the time the hike is done, you have a great big appetite to try some of the street food here on the Fushimi Inari Food Street, where you're going to find plenty of different varieties of Japanese food. But after a hike like that, I would recommend some Kobe beef or maybe some Wagyu beef, maybe even some seafood or takoyaki. By the way, we did a full things to do travel guide for Osaka as well as 51 things to do in Tokyo. I highly recommend you watch those videos. I will put links to those below in the description and in the comments. So don't forget to watch those after this one. And as we continue to show you the best things to do in Kyoto, I want to thank all of our channel members who are supporting this channel and all of you subscribers. Really appreciate it. And once you get to the bottom of the food street here, there is going to be a train that you can catch going on to the next destination. Like Gion, this is an old heritage area, very historical here. You can get food, check out some of the shrines in the town, in the city area. Really popular with tourists and locals alike. So if you want an old town area, this is where you're gonna go, right here in the heart of Kyoto, in my opinion. Located in the popular Gisha neighborhood that actually bumps right up next to the Shiho Avenue and between the Osaka Shrine in the east and the Kama River. And here we are at the Osaka Shrine, which is also known as the Gion Shrine. It's one of the most famous shrines in Kyoto. It was founded around 1350 years ago. And they hold many festivals and ritual events here, supporting local performances and other ceremonies. Actually, when I was here, there was a wedding of some sort going on, so that was cool to see. Now we're headed over to the Niho-jo Castle, which was built in 1603. It was the primary residence for the first shogun of the Edo period from 1603 to 1867. So, as you know, Kyoto was the former capital of Japan from 794 to 1868. That's why Kyoto is sometimes called the thousand-year capital. The population of Kyoto is around 1.5 million people and home to 1,600 Buddhist temples and 400 Shinto shrines. So truly many shrines and temples here in Kyoto. Like the Tenryuji Zen Temple in Arashiyama, which is the highest ranked of the 5 Zen temples around the Kyoto area, and it's famous for its Japanese garden. And just a bit of information about what exactly Zen means. It's a Japanese school of Mahayana Buddhism, which emphasizes the value of meditation and your intuition rather than the ritual process or study of scriptures. And just up the way is the Saga Torimoto Old Town, which is another great place to walk around. You're going to find cemeteries and a really cool old village right at the foot of the mountains here. This one here is for those of you who want to get out of the city and get out of the hustle and bustle and into nature, but an old town environment and finding old Japan, right? So that's why you would come out to a place like this. And it's not too far from Arashiyama, maybe 20 minutes by foot. And now here we are at another popular area. It's a food street. This is Sanenzaka. And here I basically came right down from Yomizu-dera, and I was on this food street. It's very crowded here, but definitely worth trying some of the food if you're hungry. One thing I would like to say is that each city I went to around Japan had a different popular food or cuisine that I came across. I would definitely say Osaka, more of the Wagyu and the Kobe beef, whereas here it was more of the fried foods and ramens. Even Tokyo is a bit different than Kyoto and Osaka. Obviously in Osaka they have more of the takoyaki. So these food streets, exploring each town and then each food street and each city, really amazing and definitely something you should do. And here I ended up getting some Japanese beef, as you can see, along with some pot stickers and just putting a little bit of chili powder on the beef. And if you've ever wanted to try on a kimono or rent a kimono, this is the place to do it here in Kyoto. It's very popular with tourists and locals to wear one. Right now we're here at the Kyoto Imperial Palace. The Imperial Palace is open to the public year-round, and admission here is free. So that's a great thing to do, right? Now, there were many different mansions and tea houses around the area. Most of them have been torn down, partially in part to natural disasters. Fires have ravaged this area, mostly because it's made of wood. But yeah, it's a great place to walk around if you want the history of the old Japan, learning about the emperors and the shoguns, and basically how old Japan was run. This is really the main area for that. You're also going to find some Japanese gardens, koi fish ponds. They're not the best that I've seen in Japan, but they're still pretty nice. In fact, most of it was closed off, unfortunately, when I was there. Now, something I did while here was get a haircut, Japanese style. It's totally different than any style haircut I've ever gotten. Some of the things they use, the methods, the cutting techniques, and I found it to be interesting, although typically there's going to be a language barrier that you have to overcome, but if you are up for it, go for it. It was definitely up there with one of the best haircuts that I've ever received. It was very clean cut and done with precision. Now here we are at the Kyoto Aquarium. Now, whether you know this or not, but Japan is definitely known for their aquariums, so I decided to check this one out. It's not on the level of Osaka, that's for sure, but if you have kids, probably going to want to bring them here. I wouldn't recommend this for adults if you're a couple, but if you have kids, I do recommend this. Probably the highlight of the aquarium here is going to be the dolphins, but for me, it was the salamanders. Now that we've shown you all around Kyoto, I want to give you my final thoughts on whether or not you should visit here. My answer is absolutely. I would say that between Tokyo, Nagoya, Kyoto, Osaka, I would put Kyoto as number 2, just after Tokyo as a place you must visit. So don't miss this one. I would say if you're going to do Osaka, you might as well include Kyoto. See you guys on the next one. You can also watch Tokyo and Osaka travel guides next.